Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad-gita, as it is, Unmai Urabil. Chapter 16, Text 16. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. Aneka chitta vibhranta mohajala samavritaha prasakta kama bhogeshu patanti narakeshu chau. Translation, describing people of demoniac nature. Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. Purport: the demoniac man knows no limit to his desire to acquire money. That is unlimited. He thinks only of how much assessment he has just now and schemes to engage that stock of wealth further and further. For that reason, he does not hesitate to act in any sinful way and so deals in the black market for illegal gratification. He is enamored by the possessions he has already, such as land, family, house, and bank balance, and he is always planning to improve them. He believes in his own strength. That's just been stated in the previous verses. Balavan, aham balavan. I am powerful, he thinks. He believes in his own strength and does not know that whatever he is gaining is due to his past good deeds. He is given an opportunity to accumulate such things, but he has no conception of past causes. He simply thinks that all his mass of wealth is due to his own endeavor. A demoniac person believes in the strength of his personal work, not in the law of karma. According to the law of karma, a man takes his birth in a high family, or becomes rich, or very well educated, or very beautiful because of good work in the past. The demoniac think that all these things are accidental and due to the strength of one's personal ability. They do not sense any arrangement behind all the varieties of people, beauty, and education. Anyone who comes into competition with such a demoniac man is his enemy. There are many demoniac people, and each is enemy to the others. This enmity becomes more and more deep, between persons, then between families, then between societies, and at last between nations. Therefore there is constant strife, war, and enmity all over the world. Each demoniac person thinks that he can live at the sacrifice of all others. Generally, a demoniac person thinks of himself as the supreme God, and a demoniac preacher tells his followers, "Why are you seeking God elsewhere? You are all yourselves God. Whatever you like, you can do. Don't believe in God. Throw away God. God is dead." These are the demoniac's preachings. Although the demoniac person sees others equally rich and influential, or even more so, he thinks that no one is richer than he and that no one is more influential than he. As far as promotion to the higher planetary system is concerned, he does not believe in performing yagyas or sacrifices. Demons think that they will manufacture their own process of yagya and prepare some machine by which they will be able to reach any higher planet. The best example of such a demoniac man was Ravana. He offered a program to the people by which he would prepare a staircase so that anyone could reach the heavenly planets without performing sacrifices such as are prescribed in the Vedas. Similarly, in the present age, such demoniac men are striving to reach the higher planetary systems by mechanical arrangements. These are examples of bewilderment. The result is that without their knowledge, they are gliding towards hell. Here, the Sanskrit word mohajal is very significant. Jal means net, like fish caught in a net. They have no way to come out. Aneka chitta vibhranta mohajala samavritaha prasakta kama bhogeshu patanti narakeshu chau. Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. Om Jnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Shreshtham Marmapi Shachiputramatra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagadam Urupurim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. Vandeham Shri Guru Shriyataf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We're sitting in this peaceful place. Seems very peaceful to us. Although for the insects, the many insects that are here, they may not feel it so peaceful because there's always some bird or some frog trying to catch them. The struggle for existence goes on. But to us it looks very peaceful. And it is compared to the big bad world out there. Even if we go from here to Salem, we go to Salem and think, oh, what a big and chaotic city. And of course Salem is, even though it's quite a large population, it's very provincial compared to Bangalore, which is not so far away. And generally, the bigger the population center, the more there is crime per capita. I don't think in this area there'll be any murders. Practically unheard of. Practically unheard of. Sri Ramcharan Aravinda told me he went to the police station to get permission for putting some mic or some loudspeaker, and the police, they're just saying they have nothing to do. Even if people have disputes, they'll sort it out locally among themselves. And even they didn't want to give permission because they said, what do you want permission? No one ever takes permission for anything. The police, it's a superimposition since the British time. Otherwise people locally they work things out. Anyway, there is a big, bad, nasty world out there. And if you look at the news, you'll see so many bad things are going on. How can people be so bad, so nasty? Doctors, we'd think that the doctors, they're very good people helping others, but the main business of doctors is to take out your blood and take out your money. Lawyers, you'd think they'd be very fair, but their business is also to to, by various means, extract money from people. Politicians, well, you don't even expect them to be good. There was a time when people actually thought that, and still that's there in India, where to some extent that people think that the politicians actually care for them and they're actually trying to help the people and the country. Is it like that in Poland? I don't think in England and America a lot of the people just completely lost faith, especially after it came out that they were deliberately lied about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq so that they could go in and do their mass destruction of Iraq. That must have been, I wasn't in the Western world, but I guess that was a turning point. Bankers, how the very rich people, Monsanto, the word Monsanto in the Western world is synonymous with all that could be bad about humankind. And here in India also, they promise you'll get crops, better crops. People take loans, and then there's no mercy. The Monsanto company, they're giving all this. It's supposed to be better food, although no one knows actually what's going to be the result of these genetically modified crops. And joining together by money power with politicians, in South America they take over huge areas of land and just destroy it. Or the native people who are living there have to be cleared off the land, which they've lived on for generations, so this Monsanto can destroy more land. And it's evil, practically we could say evil. They're all like Rakshasa. The word Rakshasa is a Sanskrit word, which means people of very bad inclination. They don't care if other people are killed. The politicians, they're making wars. Why are military forces from the United States of America and other countries, why are they in Afghanistan, Syria? What are they doing? Democracy? What's going on? I don't know if anyone knows, even the soldiers themselves. I don't even know if the politicians know. It's just killing for the sake of killing, driving people out of their land, driving out of their homes. You're sitting in your home, and any time some drone or bomb can land on you, they make this Monsanto makes food, so-called food, which makes you diseased. All they want is money, and they don't care how they get it. Srila Prabhupada writes, they do not hesitate in any illegal way. They don't mind if others are put into pain, so that their own self-interest will be for what they consider to be their own self-interest. Telling lies, presuming that the public will believe them, and the public in general did believe them, and the public thought yes, we should pay our taxes to support the war, to destroy this evil person. But they had other motives. In other words, they were pretending to protect the people, but their real aim was to cause distress to others. So how can people be so bad? Of course, there's mass abortion going on all over the world, mass animal slaughter going on all over the world. That's also evil, people don't think. What about pornography? Why do the governments of the world allow this? Well, the governments in Muslim-dominated countries generally don't. They block pornography sites. So that's a good thing. Human trafficking. They so many bad things. They capture young girls and sell them, and they keep them as prisoners, and they're just forced into prostitution. Horrible things. Horrible. How can people be so bad? We can't imagine, is it? Could you imagine that your child would grow up and do that? Something like that? You can't imagine. Hitler is known as the most evil person of the 20th century, more in the Western world than here in India. He's very famous or infamous, but his mother, could she have imagined he would be so bad? You'd expect someone who's so evil to look really nasty and cruel, isn't it? But it's not necessarily like that. That's why I was talking about this, they're making lies to make wars. Well, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom who promulgated this lie, if you look at him, he looks like a very nice gentleman. He even calls himself a Christian. I wonder what Jesus would have to say about that. How his name can be so misused. But often people who are engaged in very sinful and evil activities, they might appear to be very sophisticated, dressed very nicely in a suit and talk in a very gentlemanly way. But they don't directly go and stick knives into people or shoot them, but they're manipulating it all. Their only goal is money, how to get more and more money. Even though they got far more money than they could know how to spend, but they want more and more and more. There was some couple of years ago, a godbrother of mine sent me a link to a short video clip of there was some impending tornado in Florida, and showed the whole situation, how people are just practically, civilization almost breaks down. And one of the people being interviewed talks about the thin veneer of civilization. In other words, as long as things are going on normally day to day, then people generally tend to act in a fairly civilized manner. But as soon as law and order breaks down, then people become, we say like animals, but probably actually worse than animals. At least in the Western world it was like that. So if we see the news, we can't trust the news, the journalists are all lying, the newspapers and the TV, what can we trust? It's politicians, corporations. There's a term, you won't be able to translate it into Tamil, corporatocracy. The big money institutions, they manipulate governments and the world by their money power. So much hypocrisy. We may say, well, it's not like that in India, but we see again and again the big companies, they with the cooperation of the state governments, usually it's the state government, they drive people off their land. That was probably the cause of the downfall of the ultimate, or the nail in the coffin, last nail in the coffin of the communist government in West Bengal, when they, in that Nandigram in West Midnapur district, the police went in on the order of the government and killed a whole bunch of people who were protesting against the forcible takeover of their land. for the sake of some big corporation. So these kind of things are going on in India also. We don't support the Maoists in India, but they're able to get support because these kind of things are going on. It seems to me in India the politicians, a lot of their energy just goes into cursing each other and saying how bad each other are, isn't it? Rather than thinking how to actually benefit the country. A lot of their energy just goes in just bad-mouthing each other. It's nothing new. We might think, oh, it was so much better in the past. And there's grounds for that also, because we have statement in Srimad Bhagavatam. So far I haven't been speaking much, you might think, about from scripture or shastra, but of course this is discussed here in Bhagavad-gita, but from Srimad Bhagavatam we learn Tataschanu dinam dharma satyam socham shamadaya kalena balena rajan nangshantayor balang smritihi. That with the passing of Kali Yuga, with every single day, dharma, righteousness, will decline. With every single day, truthfulness will decline in this Kali Yuga, which means now. Cleanliness and purity will decline. Satsam, shocham, shama. Tolerance. Different kinds of tolerance. Tolerance of heat, tolerance of cold, tolerance of other people. It's a common thing now in the Western world, isn't it? If someone is, what's it called, road rage. Someone's stuck in a traffic jam and they just get out of their car and shoot someone because they think he's not going fast enough or something like this. They can't tolerate that they're delayed by 5 seconds or something like that. I had that once a few years ago in Munich in the morning. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning. I was just walking out of the apartment I was staying in to go to the temple. And I was just walking, and it happened to be in front of the garage where someone kept their car, and I just walked. And there was a woman in the car, and she looked like so angry at me because I'd walked in front of her. She was planning to come out, and I delayed her coming out of the garage by about 5 seconds. She looked like so angry. Insane. But they think the world is meant for me, and if anyone does something which I don't like, then kshama, no tolerance. Daya, compassion, no compassion. Declines day by day. Kshama daya, kalena balena rajan nangshanta. Lifespan decreases, bodily strength decreases, mental strength decreases. So it might be true that in the past it was better, but it was never. It's not that if we go back in the past we'll find some time where everything was wonderful up here. Well, if you go back far enough to Satya Yuga, but there were still snakes. Humans like snakes also. I was surprised recently reading one of Srila Prabhupada's articles from the Bhakti Godhead magazine that he himself was writing all the articles for in the 1950s. So you might think, well, India in the 1950s must have been much better. Maybe in some ways, but Srila Prabhupada was lamenting over the state of society, how degraded it was. He was especially talking about black marketeering, which is a major issue at the time. Rich merchants would purchase large stocks of grains and then sell them at a very high price to maximize their profits. Everyone needs to eat, so the poor people suffered, and somehow they have to get money. So they give in this way by cornering the market. The rich were becoming richer. Black marketeering was a big problem at the time. And Srila Prabhupada wrote that in the 1950s, he wrote that 20 years prior to that, he got information because he was in the pharmaceutical business, and some doctors told him that women were trading their most precious possession for quinine. That quinine was a cure for malaria. Otherwise, you could use tamarind leaves. Tamarind leaf. We have the tamarind tree, the tamarind leaves. That's it. Yeah, and what's it called? Infusion of that cures malaria. But they were trading their most precious possession. What is the most precious possession? Means there chastity. Women would to get quinine, maybe for their children, I don't know, maybe for themselves. The cure, the only known cure, it seems, if they didn't know about tamarind leaves, for malaria. So Srila Prabhupada wrote, that means in the 1930s that was going on in India. And if we go back even further, what would you think about Varanasi about, say, 700-800 years ago? Must have been very good, huh? Very religious city. Well, Vedanta Deshika from South India, from here, South India in Kanchipuram, he wrote when he went to North India, he was shocked at how degraded the people. If we were to be transported back in time, we think, oh, it's so good. But was there no evil? Was there no lust, greed, anger, exploitation? Must have been there. Varanasi, of course, is very famous as a religious city, but it's also been always a city of sex and lust, and by the way, always been like that. Even now, it's famous, apart from being famous for its religious side, but it's got a huge area, red light brothel district also. So, okay, let's go back further in time. Srimad Bhagavatam, 5,000 years ago. Quote from Srimad Bhagavatam. A person who is too cruel is as good as dead. That means there were people like that at that time also. A person who is too cruel is as good as dead, even in this lifetime. No one likes a cruel person during his lifetime, and after his death, people curse him. Generally, after someone dies, you tend to remember the good things, isn't it? You don't want to think about the bad thing. Okay, did this good. As long as someone's alive, you might not like them. But when they die, you say, well, actually, it's quite good. But someone who's really cruel, people curse him even after his death. On account of his self-identification with the body, he must be degraded and pushed into the darkest region of hell. So can you think of anyone like that 5,000 years ago? Time of Krishna? Extremely cruel. Kruramana means cruel. Krura. Sarpat krurat. Kala krurat. That word comes. A snake is cruel and a nasty person is cruel. Sarpat kurarta kara. More cruel than a snake is a cruel person. Mantro shadiva shasarpa. A snake can be controlled by mantras and by medicine. Kala, what is that? Kala krura nivaryate, something like that. But there's no way to control a cruel person. Yeah, Kamsa is an example of a cruel person. Very cruel person. Does anyone know, I'm reading this verse from, translation of verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Who spoke this? A person who is too cruel is as good as dead. Can anyone think who spoke that verse? Kamsa. He himself knew that to be cruel is not good, but he was nevertheless exceptionally cruel. So it seems that to be bad, there are always bad people. It's almost an eternal principle. There'll always be bad people. Always in the world there'll be bad people. We saw a dead scorpion the other day. I'll read something about that. This is again from Chanakya, Niti Shastra. I just quoted that. The cruel person is worse than a snake, because a snake can be controlled by mantras and some kind of medicine. But a cruel person, what can you do to control such a person? Incorrigible. So, another verse from Niti Shastra. Vrishchikasya vishang pucham. Can you follow that? Vrishchika means scorpion. So Vrishchikasya means of a scorpion. Visham, poison, and pucham, in the tail. Comes in Telugu also, pucha. So the scorpion has poison in the tail. Makshikaya, makshika, you know that word? Comes in Telugu also, makshika. In Hindi it's there, makshika, you don't say? Means a bee, makshika. One word for bee. There are different kinds of bee. So makshika visham shiraha, in the head. Then takshakasya vishang dantang. Takshak is a kind of snake. So the visham is in the dantam, in the teeth. Then sarvangam durjanasya cha. And the poison is in every limb of the body of a cruel human, of a bad human. Their whole being is, not that there's literally poison, but their whole attitude is poisonous. Hare Krishna. It's not pleasant to discuss, but it's a lot more unpleasant to fall into the clutches of such people who can take pleasure in torturing others, literally. Maybe some children, that's described about, what was the name, Manduka Muni? As a child, he pierced an ant with a piece of sharp grass. A child may do that without thinking, just to torture some other living being. Now, we sometimes feel about people who they're living in luxury, they have so much money, and they feel very insecure. There are other people who are in that situation. Konyosti sadrishang maya. Who is there like me? That just comes in the verse previous to the one which we just read. There's no one to compare to me. They feel so comfortable. They think they can get away with anything. Someone thinks, I'm from a rich family. I can do whatever I like. This Sanjay Gandhi, the eldest son of Indira Gandhi, was known that if he saw some young woman, he liked her, he'd just, okay, bring. No consideration. He's married, unmarried, bring. He'll enjoy. No one can say no. No one can say no to him. So he felt so secure. No one can do anything to me. I can do whatever I like. Unlimited power. There was no outgushing of grief when he died in an airplane accident. He just thinks he can get away with whatever he likes. We have in Bhagavatam also that Avanti Brahmana. He was a Brahmana by caste, but he was doing business as a merchant. And he was very cruel and miserly. Even his own family members, they didn't openly say it, but actually they despised him. Even though he was very rich, he would screw out the last penny from poor people just to get more rich. That still goes on. In North India, the Baniya class, they're generally reputed to be just cruel in their monetary dealings. They'll give, not so much now because loans are mostly from banks, but they'd give loans and then on terms that people can never pay back, and then they take the interest until the people have nothing left, and then they have to sell their land. And it goes on like this. There's no heart. So the opposite of that is that's the Vedic ideal. Vasudhaiva kutumbakam. See everyone as my family. Be kind to all. Udaradhi. Broad-minded. Broad-minded, it means not just thinking of my own interest, but thinking how everyone can be benefited. My life is not meant to just give distress to others. It's meant for let me serve others. But this small-mindedness, just thinking in terms of one's own self-interest, actually it's not even one's self-interest, because patanti narake shuchau, it's described here in this verse. Such a person who acts in such a cruel way, they fall into hell, but they have no thought of such a thing. They just think, I'm here, I'm in this situation, and let me exploit others. The fact that they're going to die soon and they'll have to suffer for their sinful activity, they never think. Small-mindedness. They just think in terms of I, me, and mine. Aham mameti. I, me, I, and mine. That's all they think of. So this comes from the bodily concept of life. I am this body. The body will die. When the body is finished, everything is finished. Even in devotion, we'd think that people taking to Krishna consciousness, they should be also. They should be free from such a mentality, but it may be there also. My temple, these people are under me. Basically all children, they tend to be very self-centered, isn't it? Narcissistic. They're interested in themselves. It's like that. And the parents, especially the mothers, they are hardwired, you could say. That's the fashionable term. Psychologically hardwired to respond to that. So the parents don't mind if the child in the middle of the night is crying, they just take it as normal, and the child, they expect to be served, and they have no other way to live, and they're completely helpless. But usually children grow up. I mean, physically, but mentally, emotionally, they become more mature, and then they realize, well, there are other people in the world also. I have to think of them also. I can't just act for myself. Not all people do grow up in that way. They might grow up in a manner that they are adult in some ways, and they know how to live in the world and to work in the world, but they never really lose that sense of I am in the center and everything is meant for me. So these are the kind of people who we can describe them as evil, because if a child is very self-centered, that's understandable. But if someone grows up and they're still like that, and then they become more intelligent and they can scheme how to cheat others and exploit them, very dangerous. So this self-centeredness, as we grow up, we expect that to just come out of that. And actually, think in terms of how we can help others, benefit others. And for someone in Krishna consciousness, that should be there, isn't it? Yes, yasti bhakti bhagavatya kinchana sarvari gunais tatra samasate suraha. All the good qualities of the godly people are supposed to manifest in the person of a devotee automatically, because a devotee is not thinking of himself, he's thinking how to serve Krishna, and Krishna loves everyone, so devotees should love everyone. So that should be seen in the person of a devotee. And okay, shall we stop there? We can continue tomorrow. You don't know because you're sitting under the shade, under the veranda. But we here sitting. Of course, the rain might stop also. It might not. It's just a few. Sometimes like this we've seen in the last few weeks, just a few drops for a few minutes. And even the other night it was just like this, a few drops for most of the night. I presume because I got up about 10:30 and again about 2 o'clock to pass water, and both times it's just little water dropping like this. So I could go. If it's like this, it's okay, huh?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's
okay.
What about your fancy equipment there? That's okay. You need a shade for that. No, I'm talking about this camera here.
Camera is better.
It's weatherproof. You can do scuba diving and shoot all the shoot. I mean, not with a gun, but the all the marine life. Is it? You can get a good photo of a killer whale till he comes and eats you. Okay, what's going on in the world? Why is it so bad? Let's think about that. There could be various. How about this? Think about this. This is something that Srila Prabhupada discussed. Industrialization, just the ethos that it creates cruelty. Now, how is that? How does a car, for instance, a car is a very common product of industrialization, how does a car create cruelty? Okay, let's think about it. Well, in the beginning of the Industrial Revolution first happened in England, or in Great Britain. And the conditions in which the people, they were brought from the country and put in horrible living conditions. And the owners of the factories didn't care. And there are quite a few books written throughout the 19th century about how the horrible living conditions of the factory workers. I get similar kind of things going on in India now, because in the name of developing the country they have big factories and they don't care about the government doesn't seem to care very much about the conditions of the workers and all the pollution, and they don't care, and how they're getting so many diseases and all this. So that's one thing. Another thing, one of the major industries by which Britain became so prosperous was the cotton industry and the Lancashire cotton mills. And how is that? Because cotton doesn't grow in England, so they had to import it. They were importing it from America, and they could get cheap cotton from America because of the slave trade. Horrible exploitation. Then there was the American Revolution, which has at least ostensibly started to stop slavery. But that pushed up the price of cotton, so then they needed Indian cotton. and it was very important for Britain's prosperity and development to have Indian cotton, which also meant that they had to have a navy to control the seas, because there are other people, other countries and pirates out there on the seas. And now one of the major markets, or the major market for British goods produced in the Lancashire cotton mills, by paying the workers next to nothing and keeping them in horrible conditions, the major market was India. But why should people in India buy cloth from the Lancashire mills when India had their own expert weavers for generations? So the British had a solution for that in the famous muslin of East Bengal especially. Was the weavers, they're making by hand. So the British had a solution, the Ekalavya solution. They cut off all the thumbs of all the weavers, and then they could, that was it, finished. And then the Lancashire cotton, they're able to keep the price low, so that, because by the time you take the cotton from India to England, bring it back again, there's so many costs involved. But then anyway, so many things to keep the prices down of the cotton down in India, and then the cost of the production down, and they made their profit. So that's just one example of how to develop this, and only spoken about in a very general way, about how to make industrialization work. You have to keep, at least from the capitalist point of view, to use Marxian terms, you have to keep population exploited. Now, what about tractors? That's a good idea, isn't it? You can increase the production of food products. Yeah, but it's not good news for the bulls. The bulls are in the Western world, they were using more horses for ploughing. There's a famous horse breed in England, the Suffolk Punch. Big, strong, you don't see them anymore because they're not needed anymore. They're called the Suffolk Punch horse. Very strong for ploughing. So what happens to the bulls then with their tractors? Then they get killed. Slaughterhouses. Slaughterhouses also industrialized. Mass sophisticated cruelty. And then by the machine, so many machines, and there's less need for people to do work. Like for the bulls, you need a plowman behind the plow. But if everything's done by machine, what will you do with all the people? Then Srila Prabhupada said one reason they made the Vietnam War is to send off so many people, just like culling the population. Cut down the population. All these hippies, what are these useless people? Make a war, send them off, let them get killed. One of Srila Prabhupada's disciples related to Srila Prabhupada about the Vietnam War that sometimes the soldiers became so disgusted that they would shoot their own officers. They're forcibly sent out to fight a war. They don't know what. The idea is to stop communism. But as Cassius Clay Muhammad Ali famously said, I don't have anything against those Vietnamese. When he said, at least they don't call me a nigger. Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, famous figure in the Western world, in our generation. So he went to prison rather than going to war. So, yeah, they're making wars. I think it was last time I was in Los Angeles, a few years ago, I saw car, someone's driving around on their car, they had written in big letters so anyone could see.
பெரிய அக்ஷரத்துல
You know, people put the bumper sticker, if you drive behind the car you can see it, but this is written all over the car. America is addicted to war.
அமெரிக்கா வந்து சண்டைக்கு
So it may not be that even the people like it, but they have no choice. They're sent to war.
ஆனா அவங்கள்ட்ட வேற பரியாயம் இல்லை.
The machine civilization,
யந்திரமான ஒரு நாகரிகம்
making more and more machines. Most of these machines, see, there's scientists, so many scientists, they're engaged in developing various
விஞ்ஞானிகளாம்
items of sophisticated technology for killing people.
கண்டுபிடிச்சு அவங்க
What a nasty society.
முன்னேற்றம் நினைச்சிட்டு இருக்காங்க. ஆனா இது வந்து இன்னும் கீழ் வீழ்ச்சி தான் அடைஞ்சிட்டு இருக்கு.
Here in Bhagavad-gita,
பகவத்கீதாவில் சொல்லியிருக்கு.
here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, they earn money by illegal methods. I just want to talk a little bit. I'll quote from what Srila Prabhupada said something about this. He said,
அவர் சொல்லுவார்
talking in Johannesburg in South Africa, October the 17th, 1975, there, Srila Prabhupada said, there are so many organizations. The rain stopped, you see. It's only
பாருங்க நின்று போச்சு.
little rain for 2 minutes.
தூரல் ஆகுது.
There are so many organizations, especially in the Western countries, big rogues organizations, simply for cheating, simply for smuggling. Big organizations.
பெரிய நிறுவனங்கள் சும்மா மக்களை ஏமாத்துறதுக்காக
Now, there are some famous gangs, mafia gang, famous. Somehow or other, the mafia in Italy and America, they're going on for generations. That means the police know they're there. Somehow they don't stop. They either they can't, or they don't, or they won't, or they're afraid, or they're getting paid off. But they just go on generation after generation.
சும்மா கொள்ள அடிக்கிறாங்க மக்களை ஏற்றி பொழைக்கிறாங்க. இப்படி நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு.
But those are illegal organized, but there are legal ones also.
விரோதியான ஒரு கும்பல்கள்.
Srila Prabhupada said they have got merit. In other words, they have some intelligence. Otherwise, how have they organized such a big organization?
அறிவு இருக்கு.
These people are intelligent, but what are they making such a big organization for? Srila Prabhupada said all mischievous activities, harassing by the governments, harassing people.
மக்களை ஏற்றி பொழைக்கிறதுக்கு.
Srila Prabhupada gave the example, all these realty businesses, 75% of them are mischievous. That means selling properties, realty business. I have got experience. 75% they are simply mischievously planning. You have got $5,000 or $10,000 to take it away, showing that you are getting $200,000 worth of property. They'll tell you,
பொய் சொல்லணும்.
even one of our devotees told me, prior to joining, he was sitting in the Empire State Building, phoning people up and selling them property in, I don't know, the Appalachian Mountains or something, telling them, you can get this property and you'll earn so much money, it's a great investment, and they'd take from them $10,000, and I'm not sure whether they gave them any land or not, but it was all a cheating business. Maybe you remember how long ago, 20, 30 years ago, you used to see in the Indian newspapers all the time, invest in teak. That was another swindling business.
தேக்கு மரத்துல நீங்க பணத்தை
You invest in teak plantations, and in 20 years you'll get so much money.
நீங்க வந்து இப்போ போட்டீங்கன்னா 30 வருஷத்துல அவ்வளவு
It was just a cheating business.
going on even now.
Still going on now, but not so much as before, because people are, and if you go on the internet, it comes up, how to earn 20,000 rupees in your spare time.
20 வருஷம்
All the time, I never bothered to look, because obviously it's some cheating thing. Or something pops up, you are the lucky one who has won 25 lakhs. Just click here, don't click. You know they're cheating. It's not so. So Srila Prabhupada says, they make an implication, take your $10,000 and then finish.
$10,000 எடுத்துக்கங்க.
Be careful if you're doing
$10,000 எடுத்துட்டு வாங்க. பெரிய பைசா.
any land deals. You have to be very, very careful. They're very expert. They'll take your money. They seem very reliable. And then you sign, and then you didn't read all the small print, and it's all gone. too late. Legally, you signed away your money.
சைனை வாங்கிடுவாங்க, காசு எடுத்துக்குவாங்க.
So Srila Prabhupada said their only business is this. Big lawyers involved.
இதுல
Yeah, lawyers.
வக்கீல்கள்லாம் இருக்கிறாங்க.
They have to, by legal methods, they cheat you.
சட்ட ரீதியா உங்களுக்கு எழுதி
Therefore, they are dushkritinas, Prabhupada says. Go to a lawyer, immediately you're implicated. You see this, Srila Prabhupada is talking about Richard Nixon. This man is condemned and he has to pay the lawyer's bill by working hard, by writing a book and selling the goodwill to some company. He has to pay the lawyer's bill. This Richard Nixon, apparently he had so much lawyer's bills, so he had to write some book to pay off. The lawyers, the doctors, as soon as they get some opportunity, immediately capture you and finish you. How to take all your money.
இந்த மாதிரி வக்கீல்கள், நிறுவனங்கள், அரசியல்வாதி எல்லாரும்
Here in India, and all the middle class women have to have cesarean deliveries.
எல்லாம் இந்த மாதிரி
Why?
ஏழை மக்கள்லாம்
Cesarean is only used to be something very rare. Why? Because you get more money.
வெட்டி வந்து
The doctors take much more money for a cesarean delivery than for a normal delivery.
வெட்டி குழந்தை எடுத்து
So every time, practically, isn't it? Every time they say, oh, very dangerous, you have to have a cesarean delivery. And then they get more money.
இந்த மாதிரி
It's known, but you don't. The parents, they're afraid. So the doctor says, no, you can't have it. Very dangerous. You have to have. They don't know. They're afraid. They don't want the wife to die and the child to die.
குழந்தை செத்து போயிடும், அம்மாவும் செத்து போயிடும்.
So by blackmail, they tell them they don't need the operation.
அந்த மாதிரி ஆபரேஷன்
Even there are people who are like brokers. They act almost as brokers. That to get business for the hospital, the doctors act as brokers. They recommend operations when operations are not needed,
அவங்க வந்து பல இந்த மாதிரி
and then they get a percentage from the hospital.
ஊக்கப்படுத்துவாங்க.
And many times they don't care. People may be very poor also,
இந்த மாதிரி தேவையில்லாத
so they have to take a loan and sell off their whatever little land they have. In this way, they're sucking money out of people. Srila Prabhupada says. Then Srila Prabhupada says, because artificially they have enhanced the standard of living, they want money. So they do mischievous activity. By honest means, they cannot get money. Because people, they think, I have to live at this very high standard of living.
நான் வந்து இந்த உச்சகட்ட
By honest means, they can't get it, so they go to
உண்மையா இருந்தாக்கா அந்த
um,
வாழ முடியாது. அதனால எல்லாம் தப்பு
sinful activities, nasty activities.
தான் ரொம்ப கோரமான ஒரு
So we may assume that it's normal for humans to be good and kind and nice. You would expect that, wouldn't you? You'd think like that.
மனிதர்கள் வந்து நல்லவங்களா இருப்பான்னு நம்ம நம்புறோம்.
But someone could argue, well, it's just as human to be bad.
ஆனா
Because basically everyone's acting for their own benefit more than anything else.
இருக்கிறதுனால எல்லாரும்
So
தப்பா பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க.
if someone acts selfishly, greedily, in a manner which is detrimental to others, you might just expect that because ultimately everyone's out for themselves.
எனக்கு அவன் வந்து தன்னைத்தான் இன்னும் அவனுக்கு வந்து
Just that some people are more willing to
சில பேர் வந்து
act in a horrible way
வந்து ரொம்ப கோரமா
to fulfill their desires,
தன்னோட புலன் திருப்திக்காக
but basically everyone's out for themselves. So you may say, well, what's wrong with being bad? Bad is good.
தான் பாடுபட்டு இருக்கீங்க.
If you're trying to be good, you're stupid. Someone may say like that.
புலன் திருப்திக்காக நான் வந்து
If why are you trying to be good? If you could benefit more by being bad.
தப்பான வழியில போய் எனக்கு வந்து நிறைய புலன்
And that's arguable also, that this capitalism, or it makes a system of competition. I'm not a Marxist, by the way, but I'm not a communist, but I'm just giving the argument, but where competition, the idea that it's the survival of the fittest. If you get ahead of others, competition is more important than cooperation. And in such a world, those who are prepared to fight dirty
சண்டை போடுறதுக்கு வந்து தயாரா இருக்காங்க.
and break the rules, they're the ones that win. Or they may even make the rules in such a way, or that they may act legally and still act in a manner which is most detrimental to others. I just gave the example of lawyers, doctors. Now, I'm not saying every lawyer is like that or every doctor is like that, but it's enough of it's a well-known phenomenon. The cesarean operations. I just gave an example, and increasingly in the world today, it seems to be accepted that it's all right to manipulate others and deceive others. And look, the President of the United States of America, he's a big businessman, and he's a big businessman by wheeling and dealing, not by being good. And someone may say, well, anyway, some people are bad. They're acting for their own benefit. But even the people who are good are acting for them because they makes them feel good to be good. You can make all kinds of arguments. Why is the world so bad today? Is it the media, on the television, and the internet? You see so many bad things. Is that a factor? Why? You don't see the news that, well, someone helped others, someone else selflessly. If it's a major act of selflessness, then you might get in the news. But mostly all the bad thing comes in the news. Otherwise, it's not that everyone's evil, is it? Well, probably. Not everyone's evil and scheming and trying to destroy others. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any humans left. We'd all be extinct. There'd be a bunch of apes with a museum showing a stuffed human being. They have a stuffed dodo in Oxford, I think, in a museum. A species that used to be is no longer there. So there must be some kind of goodness left in humans. Otherwise, Srila Prabhupada, he often challenged people, why don't you eat your children? And people become shocked. Oh, how could you say such a thing? And Prabhupada said, you eat the animals. You say, why the animals, they don't have any intelligence, so we can eat them. Prabhupada said, well, your children don't have any intelligence. You can eat them also, by the same logic. So you could do. But people think that's very bad, and it is, of course, very bad. It's unthinkably bad. So there must be some kind of goodness, otherwise we'll all be extinct. So we're talking about cruelty, but isn't that natural? You see, the lions, the lions don't think in a moral way or humanitarian way when they chase some zebra or elephant and kill. Doesn't think that, well, this zebra is the loving father of a nice family and everyone will be upset. They don't think, they just go and kill. But then, of course, animals, we can't say they're good or evil. They're just animals. But humans, well, animals kill out of fear or for food. But humans, it seems they're capable of killing just for taking pleasure or torturing. They take some pleasure in that. Someone else may say that, well, good and evil, it's just a matter of perspective. What you say is good, I think is bad. What you think is bad, I think is good. Just like in Nazi Germany, many people have thought, oh, some Jews got killed. Good! They think that's good, very good. Of course, the Jews didn't think it was good. They think it's very bad. So they're all humans. So what some people think is good is what some people think is bad. Well, what shall we say? Everyone has an evil side? Is it? Gokul Chandra Prabhu told me that, Well, that was there in Nazi Germany, that was there in his country, Yugoslavia at the time.
யூகோஸ்லாவியாவில்
Where ordinary people who are ordinary people,
சாமானிய மக்கள் வந்து
they were told, they were put in the army, Croatian army told you go and kill these Serbian people, just village people,
ராணுவ
just go into their village and kill them all.
நீங்கள் வந்து கொல்ல
Otherwise, previously to the Civil War, they were just all ordinary, decent, nice people.
இந்த மாதிரி
And they got in a war and then they was just killing other ordinary, nice, decent people like themselves.
அவங்களுக்கு இது கிடையாது
So how, is that evil there in everyone? Are we all just crazy? Don't just blame the video games and the politicians. We're all crazy. We're all a victim of circumstance. You don't blame the people in Germany who killed the Jews because they were... What is it? What's going on? What is going on? Well, that's why we're reading Bhagavad-gita. What is going on in this world? How can people be so bad?
ஏன் மனிதன் வந்து இவ்வளோ ஓரமாக
Well, we who are followers of Bhagavad-gita, or trying to take knowledge from that, we, more than others, having this
நமக்கு வந்து
knowledge
இந்த அறிவு வந்திருக்குது
from Bhagavad-gita, we can understand
அதான் நம்ம புரிஞ்சுக்கணும்
how bad people can be.
மக்கள் வந்து
And actually,
இருக்காங்க
as devotees, we hear so, especially you're getting into this dealing counseling, it's called,
நீங்கள் வந்து இந்த
and you get to hear, you're just getting into it now more, but you'll get to hear so many bad things.
நீங்கள் வந்து
I know myself after
இவ்வளோ
years and years of being
தப்பான மக்கள்
in a situation where people come and confide in me.
மக்கள் வந்து தன்னோட செஞ்ச
There's so many bad things going on, even in ordinary, what we might call ordinary people's lives. So many bad things going on. But at the same time,
ஆனால் அதே சமயத்தில் வந்து
we have hope.
நமக்கு வந்து இந்த ஒரு
What is the hope? That
என்னன்னா
even in this crazy world,
பைத்தியக்கார உலகத்தில்
people are,
மக்கள் வந்து
that tendency is there to be very bad, but the hope is there
கண்டிப்பாக அவங்க வந்து
that everyone can be uplifted,
ஆனால் எல்லாரையும் நம்ம வந்து
everyone can be purified
எல்லாரையும் நம்ம வந்து தூய்மைப்படுத்தலாம் அப்படின்னு.
by the process
எப்படின்னா இந்த ஒரு
of Krishna consciousness.
கிருஷ்ண உணர்வு கிருஷ்ண உணர்வுனால எல்லாரையும் தூய்மைப்படுத்தலாம்
Ah.
அப்படின்னு ஒரு
We can look at ourselves also. We may think, oh, I'm such a great holy person, but
நான் வந்து இவ்வளோ பெரிய
well,
நல்ல
what was our past
நல்லவன்
in this life and in previous lives? And what's in our mind now? Is it all completely pure thoughts? Can we say?
நான் இப்போ நான் வந்து
We don't have bad thoughts?
இருக்கிறேன்னு
Ah? So everyone can benefit from Krishna consciousness. And even though some people are extremely cruel, everyone has the possibility, everyone can be purified.
எல்லாரையும் தூய்மைப்படுத்தலாம் நம்ம.
And everyone has a tendency toward, in this world, everyone has a tendency or a seed in their heart of how they can be, by bad association, they can become cruel, taking pleasure in others' misfortune. One thing I see prominent in the culture I grew up in, it may not be there so much today, I don't know, because I grew up in England and the whole culture and it's changed a lot, but I haven't been there. But a lot of difference I see
நான் நிறையா
there in the culture I grew up in and the culture I'm living in now. Broadly we can call Indian culture.
என்ன பலனா
Is that in the culture I grew up in, there's a very strong tendency, at least
வந்து
where I grew up, to laugh at others'
அவங்க வந்து மற்றவங்கள
misfortune,
மற்றவங்களோட துர்பலம்
to put others down
மற்றவங்கள கீழே
for being, if someone's stupid, to make jokes at them. And,
வந்து
I mean, it's not that it's not here in India,
மற்றவங்க வந்து எப்பவுமே
but it's very pronounced that
அது வந்து அந்த நாட்டில் வந்து ரொம்ப
if someone does something which is stupid, then just make fun of them or
கொஞ்சம் முட்டாள்தனம்
like that.
பண்ணாக்கா அது
Is it not more there than here? Even here in India, it doesn't matter that much whether someone's tall or short or thin or fat. People don't worry about it. It's a very big thing in the Western world.
கொஞ்சம் குண்டா இருந்தாலோ கொஞ்சம்
They really make fun of you if you're short,
இந்த நாட்டில் வந்து
isn't it?
அப்படி
And in the generation I grew up in, if someone was fat, like you were, especially when you were out there, they make fun of you like anything.
இவ்வளோ குண்டா இருக்கிறீங்க
But nowadays, so many people are fat. Maybe they gave it up. I don't know. So the cultural is there, but as devotees, we have to rise above that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about that also. Parera udbeg. What is that? Parera I got it written down here. Diache jay koto. Diache jibere klesh. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes his life, portraying himself as a materialist. That how much anxiety I used to give to others, giving trouble to others. Devotee is supposed to be paradukha dukhi, one who's unhappy by seeing others' unhappiness. The opposite of that is paradukha sukhi, one is actually happy by seeing others' unhappiness. And then parasukha dukhi, one becomes envious of others' happiness. So devotees are supposed to come to the level of Yasman nod vijate loko loka nod vijate chayaha harsha marsha bhayod vayagaya mukto ya sachame priyaha. Krishna says
கிருஷ்ணர் சொல்கிறார்
that a person who doesn't put others into difficulty,
மற்றவங்களை
doesn't deliberately make things difficult for others,
வேணும்ன்ட்டு மற்றவங்க
who is not disturbed by others trying to put him into difficulty, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. One person asked Srila Prabhupada, this is April 22nd, 1976 in Melbourne, in Australia. Why are people cruel?
மக்கள் வந்து குரூரமாக இருக்காங்க
Exactly the topic. Why do they persecute other human beings and torture them?
துன்பம் கொடுக்குறாங்க
How is it that they are able to do this? Srila Prabhupada replied, because he is not in his normal condition. Under the dictation of Maya, he is thinking, this is my enemy, this is my friend, and he's acting like that. But when he becomes Krishna conscious, then he becomes learned. There is no more enemy, everyone is friend. Samas sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. So in conclusion,
முடிக்கிறதுக்கு
it is a bad world.
இது வந்து ரொம்ப கோரமான ஒரு உலகம்
There are many
இங்கே வந்து
bad people.
நிறைய தப்பான மக்கள் இருக்காங்க
There is hope. Purification.
நம்பிக்கை இருக்கு தூய்மைப்படுத்தலாம்
Purification is possible by Krishna consciousness, by understanding
தூய்மைப்படுத்தலாம்
that we are all
நம்ம எல்லாரும்
part and parcel of Krishna, who loves everyone.
கிருஷ்ணரோட அம்சம்
That we are supposed to live in this world for serving Krishna, not for serving our senses. Simple thing to understand.
வந்து நம்மளோட புலந்துணர்ச்சிக்காக இருக்கக்கூடாது
Simple thing to understand.
ஒரு சுலபமான விஷயம் புரியுது
That others are suffering.
எல்லாரும்
Why should I give them more suffering?
அவங்களுக்கு
Let me try to act for their benefit. And the ultimate benefit is to give people the knowledge by which they can become free from the mentality by which they are impelled to do harm to others. That's knowledge of Krishna and our relationship with him.
இந்த கிருஷ்ணரோட அவங்களோட நம்மளோட உறவை வந்து இன்னும் நீடி
Simple thing.
இதை நம்ம வந்து புரிஞ்சுக்கணும் ரொம்ப சுலபமான விஷயம்
It's,
இது வந்து
if we start to think about it, it's almost overwhelming how bad
இது வந்து நமக்கு வந்து ரொம்ப அதிர்ச்சி
the world is.
எப்படி மக்கள் வந்து தவிச்சிட்டு இருக்காங்க எவ்வளோ தப்பு செஞ்சு தவிச்சிட்டு இருக்காங்க
But it's also most
இது வந்து
heartening.
இது ஒரு ரொம்ப நல்ல
What an easy solution there is by distributing this chanting of the holy names,
எல்லாருக்கும் இந்த மாவுல
Krishna Prasadam,
பிரசாதத்தை எல்லாருக்கும்
people can become purified.
அவன் வந்து எல்லாரையும் தூய்மைப்படுத்த முடியும்.
We're so fortunate to have this opportunity to be in Krishna consciousness.
நமக்கு இந்த கிருஷ்ண
So fortunate. Otherwise,
பாக்கியசாலிங்க. இல்லைன்னா
who knows what horrible things we might be doing.
எப்படி நம்ம வந்து இன்னும் தவிச்சிட்டு இருப்போமோ யாருக்கு தெரியும்.
So fortunate. We have to try to share this with others. Give people knowledge of
நம்ம வந்து இந்த
Bhagavad-gita as it is, paradoxically spoken on a battlefield.
இது வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இது வந்து ஒரு சண்டை போர் களத்தில் வந்து இதை சொல்லியிருக்கிறாரு இந்த ஒரு ஞானத்தை.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I'll finish that.